Week 2 will forever be known, I think, as the week of the quarterback injury. I mean, I, I,
Bad week for quarterbacks.
it was one of those weeks too that you're just like, it all kind of trickled out, right? Over the last like 48 hours on Twitter, you're just seeing things like, wait, Burrow's going to have surgery, and wait, Jaden Daniels got injured. I don't remember his tweaking his knee. He's going to miss time. Wait, JJ McCarthy's now going to miss a couple weeks. Obviously, Brock Purdy
Justin
already
Fields.
out. Justin Fields got concussed. He's going to miss a couple weeks. Some big quarterback issues, and Dan, some seasons already feeling like they're hanging on by a thread because of it. This is what makes the early part of the NFL season so wild, so unpredictable. And 2 weeks ago, when we were confidently giving our picks for the playoffs, we kept saying, obviously, injuries, of course.
Yeah, and now it throws a lot of that out.
And now so much of it is thrown out the window. I think Burrow's obviously the biggest one, but and I know we'll talk about when we get to that game. But Dan, really quickly, I'm in the camp that I think Cincinnati should go get a Kirk Cousins, or my opinion, go get a Jameis Winston. Are you in that camp or no?
I'm not, only because they've had success with Jake Browning in the past. I mean, he's looked decent when moving this offense. I wouldn't be opposed to them getting Kirk Cousins, but the problem is with that, I don't know what their cap space situation is, but let's just say they could afford him, right? You're bringing in a veteran who, has obviously a lot of experience in the league, but also a completely new system. Like, by the time you even get this quarterback ideally up to speed, it's probably going to be 3 weeks from now. Like, at that point, what if Jake Browning's like got you 3-0 in that stretch, or 2-1?
Yeah.
Like, and then you're like, okay, then we're going to move over to Kirk Cousins, or even if Kirk starts right away, it's going to take him 3 weeks, likely at the least, to get fully kind of acclimated to everything. And then you're just putting yourself in a weird position there. Granted, they've given themselves a little bit of cushion to where maybe they could afford a stumble here and there, but you really can't say they can afford any stumbles because of how bad this defense is. Like, they're going to need every opportunity that they get to strike. I don't know. I don't hate it. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I also think Browning is probably one of the better backups in the league, and he's been in the system. He knows the guys, has that chemistry. I just think they need to lean into Chase Brown in the run game a little bit more and hope that they can weather this storm and get themselves to a 500-ish spot by the time Burrow returns.
And that's why I'm leaning towards, if I was them, I would push them towards Jameis, because it's an easier cap hit. And also with Browning there, if Browning is 3-0, say you make the trade for Jameis tomorrow, right? And Browning, you're obviously going to start Browning for a couple games as Jameis gets acclimated. Well, if Browning stinks after 2 weeks, you're going to say, hey, well, let's just throw Jameis in there. And Jameis is going to be fun. He's going to be entertaining. And at least he can throw the deep ball with these receivers, and we could be competitive.
The only downside is like that's a team that can't afford turnovers.
Well,
right?
yeah,
and that's his MO.
Yes. But I also think it's not like, if you get Kirk Cousins, the pressure is like, you got to start Kirk Cousins. Like, we got to start Kirk Cousins. We got to win.
Yeah.
And it's sad to bench Kirk Cousins. If you got to bench Jameis after 4 or 5 weeks and you say, hey, screw it, we tried it with Jameis, it didn't work, we're going to go back to Browning or whatever, or now it's a lost season, whatever it might be. I think if I was Cleveland, Cincinnati, I'd look into it, but maybe that's just me wanting some of those games to be entertaining because I don't want to have to watch Jake Browning.
Yeah, instead they've got Mike White and who was the other?
They just signed the kid off the Packers practice squad, I thought.
Yeah, something with a C. I honestly can't remember it now.
It'll hit us.
It's not looking great. I feel terrible for Joe Burrow. We'll talk about it more when we get to the game, but brutal way to kind of launch yourself into the 2025 NFL season. But a great start for the Football Lounge with Mark and Dan this season. Last week was awesome. A lot of fun games this week. Some teams really, putting the hammer down early in the season. We saw some teams rebound. We saw others continue to fall flat. We've seen some history being made, especially in Kansas City. So a lot to dive into here in our Week 2 recap episode. All right. So yeah, the Bengals have signed quarterback Brett Rypien. Sean Clifford, that's the guy we were thinking of.
Sean Clifford, there you go.
And Mike White. So those 3 quarterbacks there.
Okay. Mike White can play a little. He can play a little.
Yep. I remember Rypien had a game or two where he almost had like a Tommy DeVito vibe and swag about him a few years ago. So yeah, I mean, none of these guys are all depth pieces. Obviously, they're gonna hope to lean on Jake Browning for the time being. Let's start with Thursday Night Football, as we always do. Washington at Green Bay, and the Packers win this one 27-18. They are 2-0 on the season. Washington now 1-1. This was really the Tucker Kraft game, if you will, a big
huge
explosion from him in the passing game there. Just opened down the seam, getting some run after catch. It was really impressive, especially because Jayden Reed goes down. So if the Packers couldn't afford to lose any receivers, they end up losing arguably their top and best receiver, Jayden Reed, for quite some time. Overall, Mark, I felt nothing was in rhythm for Washington. Nothing looked easy.
Yeah.
It did seem to me like Jaden Daniels was throwing off his back foot a ton in this game. Like nothing really seemed anticipatory. It was a lot of reacting versus kind of, dissecting the Packer defense. So look, I think it's a big credit. The Packers defense is way better already than I thought they were going to be this season. They might be the best in the NFL currently. The offense is just kind of operating within the system and doing well. But I did think really quick, to kind of wrap up my final thoughts. I thought at the end of the game, fourth down, 7 to go for Washington, and their hot route, their number one read was Jalen Lane. Like that was the guy they dialed it up for. And I was like, this, if there's any time, Terry McLaurin's had a really slow start to the season. He did last year too. But there's any time to dial up a play for your top receiver, it's that moment. At the very least, Debo, right? Somebody that you can rely on. I just thought that was really bizarre. Like those aren't the moments that you try and trick a defense and go with your third or fourth or fifth string guy. But anyway, Washington offense looked bad. Green Bay's offense and defense looked really good, specifically the defense. And the Packers are rolling, man. I know you probably hate to see it.
Green Bay's a juggernaut, and I submitted my power rankings to the fantasy sake guys today. And
I need to go do that.
And I can't put them ahead of the Bills or the Eagles right now, but they're third on my power rankings, and it may just be only because the Eagles are the defending champs, and they're 2-0, and they just beat the Chiefs again at Arrowhead. And the Bills and Josh Allen are just so electric and so much fun with the two giant wins to start the season, especially with Josh Allen's nose injury. But the Packers are all around right now. I'd say top to bottom, they look like the best team in the NFL. Just offense, defense, special teams, coaching, quarterback play. Listen, they had a commitment to the run. Josh Jacobs, 23 carries. They didn't shy away from the run. They don't just lose their identity. They're a physical football team. They sacked Jayden Daniels 4 times. And they had the Commanders' offense in a pretzel. I mean, it was the first time truly I watched Jayden Daniels and I thought to myself, he doesn't know what he's doing. Like he's lost out there. Now, granted, it's only, again, been a year and 2 games, but he was so good last year, so electric last year. To see him so stymied, it was shocking. And Dan, Washington just 12 carries for 34 yards from their running backs. It's just
Yeah, and then
it's
Austin Ekeler, another injury you talk about.
Yeah, that's a bummer
Achilles
because
done for the year.
they love to use him too in the quick passing game as well. And as an older running back, for him to have that Achilles injury, it could be.
I was thinking the same. Like this might be the end for him, unfortunately.
I'm not panicking if I'm Washington. Let's be clear. You went on the road on a short week. You're the oldest team in football. Short rest to a very, very good team, and so I'm not panicking. But I will say, as of right now, this Washington team doesn't feel like it has the special that it did at the end of last year. Now, remember, Washington kind of started slow last year. I mean, they were up and down, but it doesn't feel like the special's there. And for Green Bay right now, they're a juggernaut. They're an absolute juggernaut, and it makes me sick. It makes me very sick. But that was nothing I can do about it. So I don't have to play them for still 6, 7, 8 weeks. So maybe things will change by then. I don't know.
Maybe they will. Yeah. Only time will tell for sure. But nonetheless,
get it over with.
It's not a great showing in terms of the competitiveness for Washington in this game. But yeah, I mean, you're not gonna sit there and give them grief over losing to the Green Bay Packers, especially how they're looking so far.
Let's rip the Band-Aid. Let's get it over with.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Get it over with.
Lions rebound after a rough offensive showing in week 1 to a offensive surge in week 2 against your Chicago Bears in Detroit, 52-21. A lot of blame being thrown around. Mostly the blame I've seen lay at the feet of one Ryan Poles this week, whether it be from Big Cat or any of the folks on the score, etc. A lot of people using that quote from Poles when he first became the GM about how they're going to take the North and never give it back. And he is 3-17 in NFC North since then. A lot of people are throwing Caleb Williams' text to Tory Taylor in his face right now when they drafted him, telling Tory Taylor, "Hey, you're not going to be punting here very often." And since that text, yes, he has punted the most in the NFL. So, getting that out of the way, kind of teeing you up here to just lament how this team has looked so far this season, and the bright spot being a one Rome Odunze, I would think.
Rome was built in a season. And so I will say, Dan, the thing that I'm, you know me, I'm an eternal optimist, and I'm always, the glass is always half full. And I'm always going to find, the positive. There's a lot of negative. And right now, as a Bears fan, we have a right to be really frustrated. We're in year 4 of Ryan Pace as the GM. When he took over the team, he did the right thing. And I remember we talked about it on this podcast ad nauseum. He stripped the team of talent, and we would make excuses for Justin Fields because he had no talent. He had no one to throw to. But they did the right thing because they lost games. And then they made the trade. They traded the number 1 pick. And then it was like, hey, we're adding DJ Moore. Look at all this talent. Hey, the rebuild is heading in the right direction. And then they got the number 1 pick again. And they go get Caleb Williams. And it's like, okay, hey, we're going in the right direction. And then you lose Gibbs again. You have a top 10 pick. You get your tight end. You get all these pieces. You get your head coach. Like, this is realistic expectations for this year was to be about a 500 team and year 4 of the rebuild and to take a next step. Now, there's still plenty of time to do that. And the Bears' schedule coming up is very, very workable. Very workable.
Yeah.
You have the Saints. You have the Cowboys. You have a bye week. You have a game against Washington. They don't look, like world beaters. Like, you have winnable games coming up. I think the Giants are in there as well in the next couple games. There's a real path for this team midway through the season to be 5-4. And we can be like, hey, okay, let's pump the brakes. Let's reset. And look, we're in for a dogfight here down the rest stretch of the season. So I'm not giving up yet. But Ryan Poles deserves a ton of blame because he's drafted 34 players and 0 have made the Pro Bowl. The best player on the team, Jalen Johnson, who's out now again with the groin injury. This is kind of the second year in a row that Jalen's been injured since getting the big contract. So it's starting to be a concern, a little Jair Alexander type shit going down for the Bears. But he's a pace draft pick. A lot of the guys that, obviously DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, those are looking like nice things. Caleb played fine. This loss was not on Caleb. Would I have liked to seen them sustain a drive early in the second so the bleeding kind of stops and maybe score? Yes, but what happened? You had the bad fumble from DeAndre Swift. That killed that drive, and I tweeted after that, the Bears are dead. And then you had the Caleb Williams weird, it looked like he was throwing it out of bounds interception. I'm not going to kill him for that. He makes plays along the sideline, so I can't kill him for the one when it looked like maybe he was actually trying to make a play and it just got away from him. But it was a 2nd and 30 something. So for you to throw a 30-yard interception, that wasn't the game. That wasn't like Caleb Williams cost the game. So those were 2 drives late in the first, early the second that killed Bears momentum. But they were in the game at half until that weird play at half, and then the Lions score, and it was over. And I think that's the thing, again, that frustrates me. Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson, this team in the second half played like the Bears of last year or the year before, where it's like they don't care for Eberflus. They're not playing hard. They're quitting. And that's supposed to be the culture change, right? The culture change is supposed to be they die for Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's got him running through a wall. Ryan Pace is getting the right guys in there, the culture with Grady Jarrett and these men, Joe Thuney, these men to lead the culture. And there was no culture. So that's all really frustrating for the Bears. Really, really frustrating. Overall, they cut down on penalties from 12 to 8. So maybe by next week we'll get to 4. The offensive line, I didn't think played terrible. And let's be honest, Detroit was highly motivated after a really ugly start to the season, 0-1. They were embarrassed in Green Bay. Dan Campbell's guys play for him. And Detroit, as we said, has way more talent than Chicago. That showed up. That showed up in a giant way on Sunday. Kudos to Detroit for an emotional game, coming off of a bad, ugly loss, for them to put on that type of performance. I don't know if Detroit is all of a sudden back to being a top 5 team or if they just played the Bears. But either way, I'm not as doom and gloom as I was for a moment on Sunday. Getting to do these shows on Tuesday, I like because it lets you digest a little bit more. I do feel like the Cowboys game is a must win, or it's at least a must show up. It's got to be a really competitive dogfight football game to where if you lose, it's either a bad ref call or someone of the Cowboys makes an insane play that you just got to tip your cap to them that they beat you on an insane play. It's got to be a close game. It's got to be a good performance, a clean football game, and hopefully, knock on all the wood, it really has to be a win to start to get Ben Johnson's team rolling.
Yeah, I'm not panicking either. I mean, it's 2 games into his tenure there. We expected there to be growing pains. You'd hope it wouldn't be as bad as maybe some other situations in the league because Caleb is, year 2 player and obviously got some veteran leadership, got a revamped offensive line. So yeah, I'm hoping that they can start to get back on track, but I'm definitely not pressing the panic button just yet. But we'll see. The Cowboys offense lit up that Giants defense this week.
And it's a Matt Eberflus revenge game. So that fucking is going to kill me.
That's
going to kill me, Dan. I will say really quickly, last thing. I love Colin Cowherd. You all know this if you listen to the show. And I love listening to his show. The bullshit he's spouting about, well, if there's one more really bad game from Caleb, maybe
to bench him. Yeah.
He's saying bench him, and Ben Johnson can sell it as he just needs to take a step back. It's absurd. And Nick Wright called him out on it today. Kudos, tip of the cap to Nick Wright. He's been a Caleb stan and is still helping kind of hold water for Caleb, even though the start to the season hasn't been great. But again, he was not the reason they lost this game. I thought he played overall pretty damn well. And him and Rome are really, really connecting. Yep. That's clickbaity Colin stuff. And that's really shameful because the Bears fan base is fragile right now. The media is swirling like sharks that smell blood in the water with this team, especially if they start 0-3. And that's the type of stuff. It's just crazy. Ben Johnson chose Caleb Williams. He can be frustrated. Let him be frustrated. Let him get angry. Let him yell at the kid. But benching him is not going to solve any problems. Ben Johnson, I don't think he has enough pull in the organization to say, we're going to bench Caleb Williams. They have got to make it work together for this year. And at the end of the year, I think they'll reevaluate as they're starting to get close to, are we going to pay Caleb Williams? But that is a ridiculous thing for Colin Cowherd to say. It's very clickbaity. And as much as I love you, Uncle Colin, and I do, I'm a diehard. I'm a lifelong diehard. That's shameful. That's just shameful.
I wonder if Colin saw the interview with Joe Burrow. He's wearing a backwards hat. So I don't know what the take. That's going to really throw him into a pretzel.
It is. It's not going to be good for
him. Speaking of Joe, the Bengals did pull off, I guess an emotional win against Jacksonville at home, 31-27, the final there. Thought Jacksonville played pretty well, except for Brian Thomas Jr. He's having a very, very weird, rough start to this season after looking like one of the better wide receivers in the entire league last year in his rookie campaign. He and Trevor just don't seem to be in sync. He had a couple big drops, but Trevor did throw one bad pick. I think the other one, I wouldn't put solely on him, and he did throw 3 touchdowns.
The one was very ugly.
Yeah, the one was really bad, but I do think that there are signs that like this Jacksonville team, again, there's a lot of the narratives are that like Jacksonville looks really bad and it's rough. I actually have the opposite take. Like I feel like they're on the cusp of like figuring something out here. And it's just a matter of putting it all together. I think they're still a little confused about what they're going to do with Travis Hunter. And what their tight end situation is, how their running game is going to evolve, but they've been able to run the ball pretty effectively. I think they need to lean on that a little bit more. On the flip side, obviously the Joe Burrow injury was brutal. Jake Browning comes in. He does throw 3 picks. Don't want to excuse that, but he did lead them down the field at the end of the game and scored the game-winning touchdown himself as well. So there was a bright spot to be seen from Jake Browning's performance here and the comeback victory in the fourth quarter as well. So my overall take was Bengals breathe a sigh of relief that they're 2-0 in the midst of this brutal news about Joe's injury. Jacksonville, you feel like you let one get away because they had opportunities in this game to start to create that separation. And instead the Bengals hung around. But overall, Jags are 1-1. I'm not panicking on them. I think they're looking just fine. The Bengals, the big question mark is, can they, withstand the next 3 months without Joe Burrow and that turf toe?
Turf toe. The thing about the win is, for the Bengals, it gives them the opportunity to say, look, all we really need to do now is try to go 5-6 over the next 11 games. That gets you to 7-6, right? Even if you're at 4, you know what I mean? Like it keeps you alive enough for the hope that maybe he comes back 2.5 months early. Maybe the rehab is really great. And that maybe, again, like last year, you can put yourself in a position for a late push. So it's a huge, huge win for Cincinnati. It can't be understated. And Jake Browning came in and yeah, there was ugly moments, but kudos to him. Just get the ball to Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is a monster in this game. Jacksonville had no answers. And I'll be honest, Dan, I was really disappointed in the fourth quarter for the Jags. You kicked the field goal to start the fourth quarter. You go up 27-24. At this point in time, Browning is already in, and you know the fate. Like, we're facing Browning. Your defense gets a punt on a 3-play -2 yards. You say, okay, ball back. Let's go. And they end up 9 plays, 41 yards, punt. You get an interception. Okay, ball back. Let's go win this game. 4 plays, 5 yards, 4 and out.
Yeah, they couldn't stick the dagger in.
And I don't
had opportunities.
There's a lot of people yelling, kick the field goal. It's Jake Browning. Like, make him score a touchdown. Well, he scored a touchdown. But I'm for going for it on 4th down, but it's like, that's, to me, it's like, that's the game. Like, if Jacksonville, I agree with you. I don't think it's all hell's breaking loose in Jacksonville. You're 1-1, but it's like, God, you're going to freaking kick yourself in the face in 3 months from now, looking back at this game going, how did we let that one slip when you had a lead in the 4th? You had multiple chances to put the game away, and you couldn't do it. And Trevor couldn't get it done. That is a frustrating thing as a Jags fan. I would imagine it's going to be in a couple months from now when it looks like Houston is falling off. Tennessee is not ready yet. And Indy is your threat. Indy. And Indy, and we'll talk about Indy coming up, but it's like this one, I think it's going to hurt more. And as big of a win as I think it was for the Bengals to keep their hopes somewhat alive, it was, I think, a demoralizing gut punch for the Jaguars when you really look back at this loss. Yeah,
for sure. Anytime you have a victory in hand and you lose it, that's crushing. And those can come back to bite you at the end of the season. The Cowboys beat the Giants. Talk about having victory in your hand. I mean, Russell Wilson leads the Giants down just like this crazy, improbable fourth quarter comeback. And yet the Cowboys are able to tie it up, take this thing into overtime. And then Aubrey, hits the game-winning field goal as time expires. So a weird game, a wild sequence of events. Russell Wilson is your NFL leader in passing yards. He threw for a career high 450 yards in this game. We mentioned the fourth quarter. That was
43 points scored in the fourth quarter.
Unbelievable fourth quarter. It still seemed to me like everyone was talking about how amazing, of a performance it was from Russ, and like not take anything away. He had some incredible throws, but Mark, they were all just chuck it up. Yeah. And he throws a really good deep ball, but they really were just like, well, not Malik Neighbors is down there somewhere. I'm going to throw it up there. And Malik made some nice plays on the ball, and it ended up working out in their favor. But I felt like that was more crushing for New York than it was a nice win for the Cowboys, if that makes sense, because the Giants had that chance and to kind of like everyone was on their back after week one, right? And you have a chance.
And the Giants defense is supposed to be the thing, right? That's what we talked about all season. Like the Giants got a really good defense, going to keep them in games.
Yeah.
Dan, Dak Prescott has beaten the New York Giants 14 times in a row. That is the second most ever in NFL history for one quarterback beating
that's crazy.
That in a row.
I wonder if Ben against
it was, I think it's
Cleveland's got to be there.
It's got to be up there. I know Patrick versus the Broncos, and then it's Brady versus the Bills.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's like, it's brutal. Like it's he owns the New York Giants, and it just goes to show you how bad New York has been over the course of that last 6-7 year stretch now it's going on. Listen, for Dallas, it was a fantastic win. Like this is what we knew Dallas would have to do. Dallas is going to have to win shootouts because you gave up Micah Parsons, and the defense has a bunch of guys who we just don't trust, and we don't trust the defensive coordinator. But we love what they have offensively with the weapons, the two wide receivers, the tight end. And I think Dak, my question with Dak will be is how long is this sustainable? How long can Dak stay healthy and be, he's closing in on those late 30s, those mid to late 30s. And it's like, what kind of arm does he have for 17 games? It's September football, right? For Russ, it kind of felt like the same thing. For Russ, this felt like a one last ride, Broncos country, let's ride. And
left it all out on the field.
And for them, we'll see. It buys him 2 more weeks, I think, right? Like the Giants fans are cool with Russ starting next week. So we'll see how that goes if he can salvage another week or two. I think both teams are more frisky than we first thought. And I think both teams should be looking at their defensive film going, what the hell do we got to do to kind of make some adjustments here, especially in New York, because they actually have guys on defense. And so they can't get embarrassed like that.
Yeah, no, that was bad all around. You can't give up that many points. And all like late in the fourth quarter when you're trying to, when you're expecting teams to like tighten up and, make those big plays on defense is the complete opposite. The Rams go on the road and put a whooping on the Tennessee Titans 33-19. We just saw more Cam Ward, trying to make
that throw,
transition to the NFL.
That touchdown throw.
That was great. And honestly, like, people were saying that there were shades of Will Levis. He made a couple like falling throws, but honestly, I thought they were he didn't make those throws into dangerous situations. He threw it up and like there was one where his receiver caught the ball and made it like a 5-yard catch. So I actually thought Cam showed a good ability to make smart choices even out of structure. And Elik Iomanor, or I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his last name, but the rookie wide receiver is becoming an early favorite target of Cam Ward's, and that's always good to see him having some sort of rapport with a receiver there on the team. So I think there's, some things are starting to form there in Tennessee. And on the flip side, Puka Nacua had a great touchdown run there, and Matthew Stafford throws 2 touchdowns in this game. And the Rams are just looking good. They're looking like a buttoned up NFL team. And I feel like they're going to be that team that maybe isn't getting talked about enough. They really weren't getting talked about enough in the offseason. They kind of slipped under the radar, and now they're 2-0. And I feel like they really haven't been talked about much in the last 2 weeks either, for how much of a, offensive juggernaut they can easily become. And we saw Devontae Adams finally get some looks his way this week.
Yeah, the Rams ended up at the 6th spot in my power rankings, and I feel great about the Rams. We talked about it all offseason. As long as Matthew Stafford looks like he's playing well, and so far he does, he looks healthy. And again, it's a long season. It's only September. They're going to be in great shape, mainly because their defense showed their teeth. 5 sacks on Cam Ward, who's, he's not Michael Vick, but he is a capable mover, escaper, big body. So for them to get him down that many times just goes to show you that Tennessee's got a lot of growing pains still left. And listen, if you're a Tennessee Titans fan, so far through 2 games, they're feisty, there's fun moments, and I would argue things are going according to plan. Like, you need more top picks. You need to get another draft class in there with maybe 2 first-round picks. Can you trade back up into the first round? Can you at least get like a number 1 elite guy to add either that offensive line or that defensive line, or an elite weapon for him? Those are things that you're looking forward to. I will say, I give the Titans credit. Tony Pollard gets 20 carries. They're not throwing it all on their young quarterback. He's not throwing the ball 50 times. Yes, they asked him to throw the ball 33 times, but there was a commitment to say, hey, we're going to run the football, and we're not just going to dump everything on Cam Ward. For the Rams, obviously, you mentioned it. Things are really starting to click for Stafford and Adams with Nacua and this kind of trio. And this is you nailed it, a professional football team. Looks really well run. Through 2 weeks, last week they didn't score a ton, but they got out of Houston with the victory, or at home against Houston with a victory. This week, you're on the road all the way to the East Coast, to the Eastern time. I guess Nashville's actually Central time zone. But you make a far trip on the road, and you win a game that it's like could absolutely be a trap game, and you take care of business. Big win for the Rams.
Yeah, no question. They are one of the front runners going into week 3. No question. I think they're going to absolutely be in my top 8 or so in the power rankings. I haven't submitted those yet, but yeah, I can easily see them being right there. The Patriots go on the road to the Dolphins. Dolphins now 0-2 on the season. Offense looked a little bit better this week for Miami, but that was about it. Defense did not look good. Drake May and company he accounted for 3 touchdowns in this game. Special teams was a big theme this week as well, Mark, and that usually does tend to be the case early in seasons. Certain special team plays can make or break a game at any time, but really important early in the season as teams are still getting familiar, acclimated, knocking rust off, etc. We saw Malik Washington, give Miami a 27-24 lead with his punt return, and then Antonio Gibson returns the favor shortly after with Mike Vrabel trying to run along with him on the sideline. That was kind of a funny video to watch. And the Patriots come away with the 6-point win. They're 1-1. And, I really thought that offense looked a lot better. It's really hard to gauge how well they did against a Miami defense that was certainly the bottom half of the league. But, Drake Maye is making plays. And I do think, I know there's a lot of questions coming in this season. Like, is he actually the guy? And I don't think we have a definitive answer, but it seemed like a lot of people were leaning more towards Drake Maye is probably going to be a bust. And I don't know. I mean, I see a guy who's, fairly poised and he can make some really nice plays on the ground as well.
Yeah, I think to me, one of the big takeaways for me watching through this game is Miami's got to be looking at times at Drake Maye and going, shit, we got Josh Allen already kicking our ass in division. And now here's this big, strong, physical kid who at times reminds you of Justin Herbert. And you're just like, oh, no. Like, this is not good. This is not good. This is not good. And I think about that fourth quarter for the Dolphins in Tua. The interceptions, all of them were bad for Tua.
Yeah,
all of them were bad. They're
so
all bad. And with Tua, for them to go into the fourth down by 3, you get gifted that great punt return. So you're up by 4. You then give them a touchdown right away. So now you're down again by 3. So it's like it's just neutralized, right? Within 10 seconds, it's neutralized. It was 23-20. Now it's 30-27. It's still just 3 points, right? You're in the fourth quarter, 3 points. You throw the horrible interception. They kick a field goal, and then you go 7 plays, 23 yards on downs. And that's how you limp out of that game at home against a division rival. At some point in time, you're going to either, in the NFL, have to make everyone eat their words, or you're going to have to take your licks and probably get fired. And that's the situation Miami's in the sense that Mike McDaniel was brought in to say, hey, you're the Kyle Shanahan guy. This is Tua. Do the thing with the small quarterback who's accurate, right? And they scored 70 points in the Broncos. They made the playoffs. There's a lot of good-looking things. And then what happens? You pay Tua a lot of money. He couldn't stay healthy for a couple of years. And now here in this year, the vibes are just all wrong. And Dan, if you're a 49ers fan, how does this future of what the Dolphins are dealing with now not scare you a little bit? You're paying Brock Purdy more than you paid Tua. The injury's now mounting up for Purdy. He's now an injury-prone small quarterback. I guess the difference is that Shanahan is just more proven than McDaniel. Is it McDaniels or McDaniel? What is it? Mike
McDaniel. You
McDaniel.
got it. Yeah.
And so it's an alarming thing. This is a loss to me. As a Bears fan, I can relate. I sit there and I look at Jets fans. I look at Dolphins fans. As a Bears fan, we're the 3 organizations right now that can all look each other in the eye and just go like, it's just we're cursed or something. Like there's just something not right. The difference, I think, being Miami fell for it. Miami paid a guy that neither of us on this show would have paid that money to. We would have offered him a fine contract, a Baker Mayfield level contract, and said, take it or leave it. We'll go draft another guy. Because imagine if Mike McDaniel had got his hands on the draft last year as opposed to paying Tua Jaden Daniels. Or imagine if he got his hands on a Bo Nix. You know what I mean? Someone a little bigger, like I think Mike McDaniel and the vibes in Miami would be completely different because you're not paying your quarterback anything, and he'd be making it work with a young quarterback. But you pay him a ton of money, and this is what you're stuck with now. And for New England, great win against the division. You score 33 points. You get some help with special teams and some turnovers, but you're there in the right spots. First win of the Vrabel career. The vibes are heading in the right direction, New England, wrong direction, Miami.
Absolutely. The San Francisco 49ers win 26-21 over the New Orleans Saints in NOLA. Mac Jones throwing 3 touchdowns in his first game action in relief of Brock Purdy. Spencer Rattler threw 3 touchdowns as well. honestly, Mark, I think he looks pretty decent.
Yeah.
Not a top, 15 to 20 NFL quarterback, but a starting NFL quarterback he's looking like so far this season. They ran the ball decently well, did the Saints, especially Kamara, and 100 yards on the ground, efficient running for him. They spread the ball around. It just wasn't enough. And it was a close game throughout, but it was really about the San Francisco 49ers' ability to play full 60 minutes. Those 6 points in the first quarter proved to be important and the difference maker in this one, especially since they just let their kicker go last week. So working with a new kicker there in San Fran. Eddie Pinheiro. Yeah, you're familiar with him. But overall, I mean, hey, if you're San Francisco, you're breathing a sigh of relief. You're going to hopefully get Brock Purdy back next week. And Christian McCaffrey has looked like the Christian McCaffrey of old, primarily in the passing game. He's not running the ball as effectively, but they haven't really dialed it up that way. So I think this is kind of a win-win. I mean, if you're a Saints fan, and I know that, we had one grace our airwaves during the NFL draft as well. You got to be happy that they're actually looking decent. They may have a goodish quarterback in Spencer Rattler, and you're still losing and getting a high draft pick next year.
It's a win. The Saints right now, the vibes are, I think the vibes should be very positive, right? You're scrappy as hell. You're fighting for your coach. You don't seem poorly coached from the film and everything.
No, I've been surprised with Kellen Moore so far.
So I think the vibes in New Orleans are exactly where you want to be. You're losing, but you're competitive in your losses. Spencer Rattler, if you would have told me that I have to watch 74 passes between Mac Jones and Spencer Rattler, 73,
oh my God,
I'd have been like, this is going to be a disaster of a game. But it actually was pretty entertaining. I think if I'm San Francisco, I wait on Purdy now. Give him the rest, right? Like, he's going to be your guy. You paid him. So just give him the rest. Get 100% healthy. Mac Jones
coming up here?
Mac Jones seems competent to be the guy for a couple weeks. Even
Arizona and Jacksonville the next 2 weeks.
You ride with Mac Jones
at home,
and you hope you split. If you can go 1-1 through that stretch, you say, hey, we're 3-1. And we're getting Purdy back, and we'll get Kittle back in another week or two. Like, that's positive vibes. I will say with San Francisco, I'm not sold on their defense 100% yet. Like, I still think there's some kinks. I still think there's room to grow. Robert Saleh can turn it around, but you're just so used to seeing San Francisco be so ferocious and dominate, and it just feels like, okay, they're not the San Francisco of 2-3 years ago defensively. And we'll see if that changes throughout the course of the year. It certainly is capable of doing that. And offensively, for them to put up 26 points on the road against a scrappy Saints team with a backup quarterback, no George Kittle, it's an impressive win for San Francisco. They did not make my power rankings just because it's the Saints, and I without Kittle, I just don't know what this team is right now for San Francisco. And I think there's a better story that I put at 10, so I threw another team in at 10.
Yeah, that's fair. They're kind of a tough eval right now.
Yeah.
The Jets, after putting up 32 points against the Steelers in week 1, put up just 10 against the Buffalo Bills. Justin Fields gets hurt in this game. Tyrod Taylor comes in relief. It was pretty rough all around for them. Meanwhile, the Bills didn't really have to do anything. They just ran the ball. 224 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns there. It was a James Cook-led game, and they just didn't really need to ask much of Josh Allen. A kind of a nice breather early in the season to not have Josh put on the Superman cape and let them coast to a victory.
Yeah, especially after shattering his nose. He looked so weird.
Yeah.
You're like, is that Josh Allen? You're like, it just like I'm sure I got to watch a press conference like today or tomorrow with him to see how it's healing. Like, I bet he looks, black eyes and everything. I'll listen. The Bills are great. It was a great win from the Bills. Showed they can win in multiple ways. Again, as you said, they paid Cook this offseason. Cook just won you a game. That was like, all right, we paid a guy and he won us a game. It's a great team win on the road. They did that. Performance. So I want to spend a little more time talking about the Jets here. What did I say last week? Well, as long as Justin Fields stays healthy. and he won't. I love Justin Fields. I've said it since the day we've been doing this podcast, since the day the Bears drafted him, before he drafted him. I said it. Like, I'm going to root for this kid no matter what. I think the kid really could be a capable, above average, top 20 starter in the NFL. A guy like Kyler Murray, where you're like, it's not the greatest team in the world, but we're going to win some games. If we build the right team, we're a playoff team. But he cannot stay healthy. He cannot stay healthy. And I think it's a Cam Newton-esque problem. He is such a physically gifted dude and different. Watch his run and just look at him pregame in his body. And then look at Jayden Daniels and Lamar Jackson. They're not the same guy.
Right, yeah.
He looks like Saquon Barkley.
He's a tank, yeah.
He is built like a physical beast of a guy. And the problem a lot of times with that is you get a lot of tweak little injuries because your muscles are so strong. Look at what happened with Tom Brady, Eli Manning. Why'd they never get injured? What do they always talk about? Plyometrics. I do yoga. Yep. I do band strength.
Flexible.
I need arm strength. I don't need to be tweaking little things and all of a sudden my ripped pec gets a little tear and I can't do anything because it's just this giant muscle, right?
It's why they said, Bo Jackson suffered the injury. They said he was too strong. He was running through.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. And Justin Fields has a little bit of that. Now, this is a concussion, but again, because of his style of running and his physicality and his, I'm going to stay up and then get thrown to the ground like in that hit, you're going to lead to injuries. The Justin Fields, the classic injury for me was when things were going well in his final year, and then he breaks his thumb on this attempt of scrambling, and he gets his heel ticked, but causes one of those, and he lands on his thumb because he's so big, so strong, so physical, and he's flailing down. And he puts his hand and he breaks his thumb. And it's like, well, there you go. So he misses 6 games, and
like Jay Cutler did that.
It's right. And so for the Jets fans, I think I'd rather be right now a Jets fan than a Dolphins fan. Is that a hot take?
I would, yeah.
Because I think the Jets will have a coach and maybe a new quarterback, but the Dolphins are like, no, you're going to have a new coach to try to fix Tua. Like, I don't think Tua's going. Like, they're still paying him so much money. Like, they're in a weird situation there. I will say the concern, though, is the Jets. You give up 30 points and that much rushing with that defense at home. Like, that's supposed to be your thing, right? Right. 2 games in, the Jets defense with their defensive head coach, 2 big 30-plus point games, and it's not looking good.
We mentioned special teams earlier. Pittsburgh Steelers fall 31-17 against the Seattle Seahawks. The low-hanging fruit is obviously the rookie running back, who probably had no business being a return man to begin with. He returned like 3 kicks in college.
Really?
So it was kind of bizarre that he was their guy to begin with, but Caleb Johnson, the rookie running back, making just an inexcusable error and not touching the ball on the kickoff and letting the Seahawks recover it in the end zone for a touchdown. Really bizarre, but I don't think that deserves to be the scapegoat for this game. The Steelers defense, while they started the game a little bit better in terms of run defense, got really bad again in the second half. They gave up a 19-yard touchdown on a toss play to Kenneth Walker on 3rd and goal from the 19, when literally Seattle was just mailing it in and saying, we'll take the field goal here. And they just gave them a touchdown. There was a lot of that. Tomlin has talked about poor communication. It's just these are the same problems that have been happening for some time. And why did you and citing the new players? Well, the reason you brought the new players you brought in was because they're veterans who know how to play and can communicate. Like, these can't be the excuses right now. And
it feels like coach speak. It feels like coach speak.
It does. Aaron Rodgers didn't look as good in this game, obviously, but I will say he moved a lot better this game than he did even last week. He made some really interesting and impressive maneuvers to get outside the pocket. he also, Mark, I don't know if you've seen the throw that was incomplete to Pat Freiermuth while he was on the run. I will send it to you. It's an incredible throw on the run, and put it right in Freiermuth's hands. He just didn't come down with it. But, there were still moments where I was like, okay, Rodgers can do this. Late in the game, like Jaylen Warren, I've been saying it for quite some time on this show, at least a year and a half, that Jaylen Warren needs to be the feature back on this team. He's the only guy with explosiveness and routine playmaking ability. And even in week 1, they were giving Kenneth Gainwell more snaps. They finally reversed that this week. And what do you know? Jaylen Warren has a career game, puts them in a position to win. Of course, it didn't work out that way. Aaron Rodgers already calling out Calvin Austin for jumping in front of a pass intended for Pat Freiermuth that would have potentially been a touchdown, but instead it got tipped by Austin and turned into an interception. So a lot of weird stuff that happened in this game. I'm not hitting the panic button. I think Seattle's a decent team. Their head coach knows Pittsburgh very well, coming from Baltimore, of course. And, there were quite a few injuries for Pittsburgh to deal with as well. But none of that's an excuse. It was a bummer. I was pretty, pissed off, just like how it's the same issues over and over again. I said it last week. I'll say it again. I have more faith in the defense turning things around than I do in the offense. If the offense were to be completely non-existent, to start the season. So I'm still holding out hope that they'll get this figured out. Reinforcements are on the way. Their first round pick, defensive tackle, should be coming back fairly soon. Their starting safety should be coming back. Linebackers, but it's just getting out schemed, man. Like, once you lose guys, you got to have something else to hang your hat on. And unfortunately, Mike Tomlin is all about winning with just having better dudes and, vibes than actual, scheme. And that's what's worrisome.
Yeah, I'll just say you talked a ton on Pittsburgh there. But the only thing I would add is, like, if I'm just outside looking in, I went back to the highlights. This was the game I watched, with the Bears. So you kind of like back and forth, the two screens. I just kept thinking to myself, I'm like, they're at home and it's so low, like 17 points at home to score at home. It just feels like and I know that's just like, that's not what you brought Aaron Rodgers in for, right? Like, you brought Aaron Rodgers in to be like, hey, if we score 24 at home, we should win. And, well, we'll have Aaron Rodgers. We should score 24. And a
classic cowardly punt from Mike Tomlin, as you always come
and Aaron fighting on him.
Point. Yeah. 4th and 1 at midfield, tie game. Your defense has already been injured and they haven't looked good. And his rationale is, well, we wanted to give Seattle a longer field because our defense was struggling. If your defense is struggling, why not keep the offense on the field? Maybe that's a better way to do it. It's just, it's mind-boggling, man.
It is. It feels a little bit like stuff like that makes it feel like Tomlin, the game is passing him by a little.
Someone mentioned it. He uses analytics sometimes, and then sometimes he goes by feel, and that's kind of defeats the purpose. Like, you either have to be one or the other. Because if you're just picking and choosing, that's when the analytics don't work anymore,
Well, and you can pick or choose based on, like, we're on the road and the crowd is going bonkers, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and
I mean, it's like a home game.
Yes, but it's a home game at your 50-yard line.
Man.
I'll just say this about Seattle. It's so funny. You're like, oh, dude, they kept Zach Charbonnet 15 carries, 10 yards in check. Well, Kenneth Walker had 105 yards on 13 carries.
Really big runs.
Kenneth Walker finally kind of showed up as, like, that's the Kenneth. Like, if that guy can show up and break runs like that, he looked fantastic at times.
They really should be the Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I feel like since McDonald's been there, he's wanted Charbonnet to be the lead back.
Yeah, it's weird.
But it's like, they're both super talented. Just use them both and like, trust
I'm a Walker guy. I think when he's healthy,
he's great, man.
He can be such a big play threat. We saw it. I will say, I thought Darnold played okay. And again, it's a good Pittsburgh Steelers defense on the road. Yeah, you threw a couple picks. One of them I don't think was that really not really your fault.
Deflection, yeah. And 4th down as well.
And it's like, and otherwise though, I thought Darnold, he's starting to feel more comfortable, starting to make more sense. Darnold in this offense and what they're doing. I was disappointed in Pittsburgh. I thought I just thought they weren't dialed in enough when it's like, flat. It's like at home against a Seattle team that is going to push you because of their head coach and his relationship to your team. It's a great win for Seattle, though, to get to 1-1 in that division with the uncertainty of injuries with the 49ers, the Cardinals starting 2-0, the Rams starting 2-0. They couldn't fall to 0-2 and fall behind like that. So huge win for the Seahawks.
Big win, definitely. And Pittsburgh doesn't come back home until week 6 now. So, because in 2 weeks, their Ireland game is considered a home game, but yeah, it's sandwiched by 2 more road games. So you really would have liked their home opener to have been a good springboard. For them.
And 2-0 just feels so different than 1-1.
Oh yeah, it really does. The Ravens beat the Browns 41-17. I don't have a whole lot of commentary on this game, but Lamar Jackson throws 4 touchdown passes.
Lamar Jackson, I heard the stat now, he's qualified with enough throws or whatever. He's now the most accurate passer in NFL history. He's the best passer rating. He passed Aaron Rodgers for the highest.
That doesn't get talked about enough.
For the highest passer rating in NFL history. He is also by far the greatest running quarterback in NFL history. Lamar Jackson is just that guy. And what's so funny about this is when you look at that box score against Cleveland, or look at that just scoreboard against Cleveland, you think, oh, well, Derrick Henry, they just probably just dominated, controlled the clock.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Cleveland's defense was not letting Derrick Henry, the run game, beat them. So Lamar was just like, okay, I'll just throw 4 touchdowns and win this game. Cleveland has some guys, and we talked about this. They're not devoid of talent. You saw it at moments during this game, but they're like 3 or 4 guys away, 2 on each side of the ball from being able to say, no, we can keep that game a competitive 27-24 game. They're just not there yet. And I'm not ready to bench Flacco yet. Let Flacco keep going. It's not a disaster 0-2 start for Cleveland. I really Lamar, you can't speak highly enough about him. This Ravens team, for them, remember last year, who did they lose to week 1? Was it it wasn't the Chiefs. Was
it the Bills?
Yeah, and then they lost week 2 to the Raiders. Remember, and it was like, holy shit.
Twice in 2 seasons.
I don't know, but it was a good team, and they lost. They're kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. They lost, but it was a good team. But then they lost immediately to the Raiders the next week, and everyone's like, holy shit, the Ravens are 0-2. So for them to turn the script on this year and say, hey, week 1 we lost in a crazy wild game. It's a trap game against Cleveland, division rival. And for them to take care of business like that, I think was really big for them. For them to be sitting at 1-1 and not 0-2. Remember, they got a tough schedule. The top of the AFC they all play each other. And so you got to find the wins when you can get them. Great win for the Ravens.
How about the Indianapolis Colts, man? Daniel Jones, second leading passer in the NFL right now.
I am looking bad on my take that they would have the number 1 pick in the NFL.
Yeah. Leads them on an incredible, fourth quarter, really. But leading to the 60-yard field goal attempt, which the Broncos then committed a penalty on, moved them up, and the Colts then get a nicer shot at the game-winning field goal. And Spencer Schrader converts from 45 yards out. They win 29-28 in dramatic fashion there. Really entertaining game. We saw Bo Nix play much, much better this week than he did last week. So I think that there's a lot of optimism there for the Broncos. But you got to just be really impressed with what Daniel Jones has been able to do, what Shane Steichen has done with this team. And Jonathan Taylor, back to form on the ground in this one as well. 165 yards. He also had 50 yards through the air. So, I mean, if they're going to get this type of production out of Jonathan Taylor and then have a rookie like Tyler Warren be the top 5 tight end already in the
Wow, we're
league.
throwing to our rookie tight end. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah,
I did not know you could do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
My rookie tight end only has
one
one catch in 2 games. I thought you had to limit them.
Inexcusable. But yeah, really impressed with what the Colts have done so far, and it hasn't been cakewalks either.
And the Broncos, I'm not panicking, but there's some real concern here because
especially the defense, right? Like, I don't know.
The Chargers look very, very good. The Chiefs obviously are going to bounce back. They're not going to be a basement dweller. And the defense is exactly right, Dan. This is a team we talked about. Like, the roster is stacked. They add all these veterans from San Francisco and other places, and it just hasn't gelled. And I'll be honest, Bo Nix on script to start the game, very, very good. On script to start the third quarter, very good. 7 plays, 60-yard touchdown. You go up 28-20 early in the third quarter. Broncos, all right, riding the ship. We let the Colts stick around. Let's win this game. Their last 3 drives, so they had 4 drives in the second half, the Broncos. So it was that touchdown to start the third quarter. And then they gave up a 10-play, 42-yard drive that ate up almost 6 minutes of clock, and the Colts kick a field goal. They then punt. Colts do nothing. You get the ball back again. It's kind of like we talked about the Jags. Go win the game, and Bo Nix throws a bad interception, 3 plays. Then the Colts kick a field goal. Broncos, all right, okay. We gotta right the ship here now. Regroup. We're only up by 2. And then they miss a field goal, and the Colts go down and score the game-winning field goal after the penalty too. A penalized team. They looked undisciplined. Bo Nix did not play well in the second half, did not lead his team to victory. If we're going to be critical of Caleb week 1 for how his drives were in the third and fourth quarter, got to be critical of Bo Nix for how those drives went in the third and fourth quarter. Just like we'll be critical of JJ McCarthy here coming up as well. It was not a great performance. And for the Colts, I'll just say this. I'm just going to say this. The Saints were 2-0 last year and scored the most points in like NFL history through 2 games. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know how long this will sustain. I still don't have a ton of faith, but it looks like they have something going. And a lot of it is Daniel Jones seems to have finally clicked a little bit. He's looking like Sam Darnold. I mean, he's looking a lot like what Sam Darnold looked like last year. It's not the most accurate, but he's big, he's strong, he's mobile, and he can fling the ball all over the field. And there's times you're looking at like, don't throw it there. It looks like Darnold 2.0. Like like he learned from Darnold in Minnesota.
Very well could be.
And it's just like, hey, we're gonna be big and strong and use that to our advantage and our mobility. It's paying off.
Yep, it sure is. All right, we're coming up on time here, so let's definitely talk about Eagles Chiefs, and then maybe we can kind of lightning round. For the
sure.
Remainder since
there's only 3 games in the second half, which is bullshit. They need to spread these games out. The 10 games in the noon hour was too many games.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree. The Cardinals win 27-22 over the Panthers, and the Falcons win 22-6 over the Vikings. Any thoughts on these games?
Really quickly, for the Cardinals and Panthers, a lot of Bryce Young. Like that game should not have been that close. Like they were down big, and the Cardinals clearly let off the gas when they were up like 27-3 or 6 or something like that. And then Kyler didn't put his foot on the throat, and he kind of struggled down the stretch. And Bryce Young, it was just, we're going to throw the ball a million times. So don't get fooled by the Bryce Young stuffing the stats late. He was not good in this game early in the game. He looked small. It's
been bad to start the year.
It looked not good. And Kyler looked good enough. This Cardinals team, sneaky good. I put them at 10 in my power rankings. They're 2-0. I like the way the defense played, and he's finding a connection with Marvin Harrison, even though he's making some dumb plays at times. And then quickly for the Vikings, the story was more, in my opinion, close game at half, and then the Vikings had nothing at home. And here's the thing. We're going to be more critical on J.J. McCarthy for 2 reasons. You're the NFC Offensive Player of the Week after week 1. But also, you have Kevin O'Connell. You have a 14-win team. You have Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson and Adam Thielen. And Dan, there were just so many moments where just the ball didn't look lively. It didn't look like he knew where he wanted to go. He looked very overwhelmed. It's way too early for me to write it off, but it was a shaky second act for the young kid who had a very nice debut. And for Michael Penix, against that vicious defense, I thought overall he played pretty well.
He did. I would agree. And Justin Jefferson in this game becomes the ties Larry Fitzgerald for the fastest to 500 career receptions down to the day, 26 years, 90 days. That's kind of wild. What a stat. All right, let's get into the
Chiefs-Eagles. Yeah. Dan, I'll just say this again, not panicking if I'm the Chiefs. I do think the Chiefs, if I'm a Chiefs fan, my frustration, like as a Bears fan, is directed at the general manager. At some point, you have to say to yourself, why the fuck did we not just take a flyer on a running back in the 3rd or 4th round? Right? This running game is not, the running back position is not good enough.
It has been bad. And slow. They're just really slow.
And if your plan was Rice, Hollywood Brown, and Xavier Worthy, it's not the worst plan in the world, but you knew Rice was going to miss time at some point in time. It just so happened to be the first 6 games. It's not like there's just nothing there right now for the Chiefs. And so I don't want to panic, but at some point in time, you can't start 0-3 or 0-4 and just be like, well, Rice will come back. Like, you saw the Eagles general manager, Howie Roseman, go get himself Tank Bigsby just because he knew his backup running back is shaky and the run game's important. Go make a trade. Like, you're the Chiefs and your Super Bowl window is open. Like, go be aggressive. Go get a guy. Right? Like, be aggressive and let's not just sit around. I think there's too much of that. The defense is too good for the Chiefs for them to waste them and Patrick Mahomes. It was a bad drop by Kelsey. Overall, the Eagles, don't worry about the stats with Jalen Hurts. Just don't panic. They are a run team, and they control the clock, physical football team. I think they're plodding along right now. They're avoiding a Super Bowl hangover. I would not be panicking if I'm the Eagles. There will be a game where Jalen Hurts throws for 350 yards and A.J. Brown has 3 touchdowns and all is well. They'll need that at some point in time. But until you need it, why force it when you can just impose your will?
Absolutely. And I will say the Chiefs defense has looked pretty good. So the wins are going to come. But I share your concern of everything's just looking a bit too difficult for Kansas City right now. Buccaneers win 20-19. Comeback Baker, back-to-back comebacks in the 4th quarter. They're actually the first team in NFL history? I'm pulling up the stat right now.
Oh, I didn't hear this.
Or second team in NFL history to start 2-0 despite trailing with a minute left of the 4th quarter in both games. So they've got something there, and they've got a quarterback with moxie, that's for sure. Meanwhile, CJ Stroud and company, they are struggling, man. Talk about everything looking hard. Everything looks hard for Houston.
Houston should start being concerned because this is not – yes, you made the playoffs last year, but it was a weird year for CJ Stroud. It was a down year, even though it was supposed to be the sophomore take the next step forward. You add these weapons. Now, I get it. There was injuries. So for them to start this year off as shaky as they have offensively with the new offensive coordinator is obviously a concern. I don't think their defense is concerned. You give up 19 points at home or whatever it was. The Bucs ended up winning. It was 20 or 19. Your defense, I thought, played well, and they overall held everything in check. They're a very talented group. So you got to be able to score more than that at home. 2 really disappointing offensive starts to the year. And I get it. You're missing Mixon, no Tank Dell, but like CJ Stroud, step up. He has not looked accurate. He's not looked explosive. He's not looked on rhythm in the 2 games this year. It's a concern. And for Baker and the Bucs, they're a fun watch, and we said it, like they should very well be talked about as a sneaky NFC title, maybe Super Bowl contender. The one question I would have as Bucs fans is Baker's in year 2 of this deal. It's a 3-year deal. I would try to make sure he wants to re-sign for another just like 100 million guaranteed. Like, don't like things are working well now, and hopefully you can convince Baker to be like, hey, things are working well because we're paying you a really nice $35 million a year to live in a no state tax, state. Like, so let's not all of a sudden break the bank for Baker. I think things work right now and keep that vibe going. Egbuka's a stud. I'm so really pissed. Really good. I'm so pissed I drafted Mike Evans and not Egbuka in my fantasy team.
Yeah, he's had a great start to the year. Baker showing off the wheels in this game too, especially in the fourth quarter, man. Like some really, really big important plays.
It's a dog. Cleveland should be embarrassed. They should be embarrassed.
Yep. They had him in their house and let him walk. Finally, Chargers win 20-9 over the Raiders. Geno Smith and company look all out of sorts, and Justin Herbert looked really good in this game.
Yeah, listen, if this is how the Chargers are going to play this year, where Quentin Johnson and Keenan Allen look like bona fide superstars, and then you add in Ladd McConkey and the running game, they're a real danger. They're a real threat in the AFC. And if you are Buffalo, if you're Baltimore, you're celebrating the demise of Kansas City, the slow demise, but that's an upset waiting to happen. The Chargers, it looks like right now, early in the season, they are, I think, number 5 in my power rankings, and maybe should be higher. Like 2 impressive wins to start the year. I get the Raiders aren't a juggernaut, but they didn't let the Raiders do anything. Gentry was Bowers controlled. Geno Smith was all over the map. He looked so confused and lost at times.
He really did.
Listen, the Raiders, again, this is what we kind of thought. They're going to win a game. They're going to lose a game. They're going to steal a game. They're going to lose 2 games. No hot takes for the Raiders, except for you'd like for Geno to not look that bad. Like you don't want him to lose the game that badly.
Right. Yeah. That was a little embarrassing, and they haven't been able to get Ashton Gentry going at all. So
yeah, my fantasy team understands that as well.
They're going to want their top pick to produce sooner rather than later. That does it for Week 2 recap. We've start off Week 3 with the Dolphins at the Bills. I wonder who we've got in that game. But
Dolphins at Bills. Oh, that could be
Dolphins
a bloodbath.
At the Bills on Prime, 8:15 Eastern time on Thursday. We'll have commentary on that and all the rest of the games from the week next Tuesday. But until then, have a great week and weekend of football. We'll see you soon.